Good morning. Thank you for joining me for another 5 good minutes with the Word. I'm Barry Bryson, and we're at the beginning of our study of Psalms written by someone other than David or Asaph or Anonymous. We've studied the Psalms of David, and we'll be visiting some of them along the line in this study as well. And we've done a study of the Psalms of Asaph, but there are several others, well, a few others, that were written by persons other than David. As you know, the Psalm book really is 5 books of Psalms that have been collected together as a hymn book. And each Psalm book begins with a wisdom psalm and ends in a praise psalm. And then the entire collection ends with the master wisdom psalm, Psalm 1, and ends with a flurry of praise songs at the end. So that's the structure of the hymn book that was collected and that we find in the Bible. In book one, only David and Anonymous have written any hymns. But starting in book two, we have some others. Solomon has his name attached to 2 psalms. Maybe wrote both, maybe he only wrote one. Maybe it's been dedicated to him. We'll be looking at that. The sons of Korah have their name attached to 12. I think Heman to one, Ethan to one. And then this one that we're going to look at today, Psalm 90, which is by Moses, which is the oldest psalm we can date. There may be some anonymous psalms older, but we have no way of knowing. This is the oldest psalm by far that we can date. Moses writing, 400 years before David. And it is so well known throughout the Old and New Testament. Just look at your side references, your center column references, um, and, um, and they won't even be exhaustive. And as we read through Psalm 90, you'll recognize nearly every line from some other verse. We're going to take 3 sessions to look at this. We're going to talk about the text of it today, and we're going to talk about it in relation to David, in relation to Psalm 23, and in relation to Psalm 103 before we move on. So let's read Psalm 90. A prayer of Moses, the man of God. God's eternity and man's mortality is the topic. Okay, let's read the superscription, a prayer of Moses, the man of God. Let me just point out again. That's in the text. That's the text, and and this is what it says next. Lord, you have been our dwelling place in all generations. Before the mountains were born, or you gave birth to the earth and the world, even from everlasting to everlasting, you are God. You turn man back into dust. You say, return, O children of men. For 1,000 years in your sight are like yesterday when it passes by, or as a watch in the night. You have swept them away like a flood. They fall asleep. In the morning they are like grass which sprouts new. In the morning it flourishes, it sprouts anew. Toward the evening it fades, and it withers away. We have been consumed by your anger, and by the wrath and by your wrath we have been dismayed. You have placed our iniquities before you, our secret sins, in the light of your presence. All our days have declined in your fury. We have finished our years like a sigh. As for the days of our life, they contain 70 years, or if due to strength, 80. Yet their pride is but labor and sorrow. For soon it is gone, and we fly away. Who understands the power of your anger and your fury according to the fear that is due you? So teach us to number our days, that we may present to you a heart of wisdom. Do return, O Yahweh. How long will it be? And be sorry for your servants. O satisfy us in the morning with your loving kindness, that we may sing for joy and be glad all our days. Make us glad according to the days you have afflicted us and the years we have seen evil. Let your work appear to your servants and your majesty to their children. And let the favor of the Lord our God be upon us, and do confirm for us the work of our hands. Yes, confirm the work of our hands. Well, I can just introduce the theme today, and maybe we're going to take 4 sessions because I've already taken 5 minutes, and we really need more time to point some things out before we move on. The themes are clear. We begin with Lord being our dwelling place in all generations. Before the mountains were born, you gave birth to the earth. You from everlasting to everlasting, you are God. We begin with God's um, eternity, that God has no beginning, He has no end, and that He is personally our God, and that we are connected to Him and have always been connected to Him. The Lord here, the word Lord is the word Lord. It's not Adonai. It is not Yahweh's name. We only get Yahweh's name once in this, and that's in verse 13, where He cries out for God's deliverance. Oh, do return. Oh, Yahweh, how long will it be? But when it says the favor of the Lord be upon us in verse 17, we're back to Adonai. So there's a tentative respect. You know, he uses God's name sparingly, and of course, this is a person who was exposed to God probably more than any other human being was. I mean, just in terms of physical proximity, the burning bush, the 40 days on Mount Sinai. Every evening, the conversations at the tent of meeting, at the door of the tent of meeting, where they would speak together as a man does his friend. And this familiarity in no way breeds disrespect or contempt. If anything, it has increased his sense of God's otherness, and it uses the divine name judiciously and sparingly. And so there's that. So we have this fact that God is everlasting, that God is our God. And then in verses 3 through 6, we have the mortality of humanity. And then in verses 7 through 12, we have the sin of humanity and the responsibility that we bear for our sin and God's great anger on account of our sin. I should have said it in that second part, our mortality is God's doing as well. Because at first we were offered access to eternal life through the tree of life, but that we were taken away from that because of our sin. So that's the second part. The third part, God's anger, which is justified at our sin. And then we have the requests. And the last part, the requests that He makes on behalf of us humans, requests that we do not deserve. Okay, when we're together next time, we're going to be a little more specific about the content of Psalm 90. Thank you for joining me for another 5 good minutes.